Welcome to another episode of AutoSave. I'm Nick Andrade here with my co-host Camille Salazar-Hadaway. On this episode of AutoSave, we're continuing our dive into Final Fantasy VII Remake as we're almost done. We're climbing through and we're almost there. Camille, how are you doing today?
It's the final countdown.
I think that's your favorite song.
It is. Anytime I could just throw it in there as a joke, I do. So by default, it is my favorite song. So thanks, Nick, for pointing that out. And people know.
I know you. I know you very well now.
You do. I'm doing okay. I must say it's not the greatest day. Technology is not on my side today.
It's not.
No.
It seems like it's never on your side, to be honest.
No, it isn't. They're like the greatest villain in my story, okay? Like every piece of technology. And it sucks because I'm a gamer. And
Exactly.
I game on technology. So it's like, why don't you love me?
You need to rely on these things. And these things you can't be relied on. It's, you're looking for this, relationship, but they only want it one way. And it's not fair.
Yes, I'm feeling very Tifa today. I want a certain relationship with a certain somebody in my situation, technology. And, they're giving me the cold shoulder. Yeah, I can't.
Well, that's a great reference. Moving on to what this show is about today. Well, actually, last week on episode 7, the gang needed a way to get past the Sector 5 pillar and reach Shinra and rescue Aerith. So they went to find Corneo for some leads, I don't know why, only to get help from Leslie, who gave them some grappling guns in exchange for some help and maybe a little revenge on Corneo. It's basically set us up for a final few missions because the game let us know that there was no turning back beyond this point.
No.
Used to think you were a little shit with a big attitude and a bigger inferiority complex. Quite possibly the worst person I have ever met. But that was before I figured you out. All this, it ain't you.
Deep down, you're a pretty nice guy. Didn't see it when we were kids, but...
Don't know about any of that. But kindness is no use on the battlefield. If anything, it's a liability.
Hey, no one's asking you to treat Shinra with kid gloves.
Aerith's up there waiting for us.
Then we better get a move on, huh?
Ready?
You know what I just thought of right now after listening to that again is how backhanded that comment from Barrett was. It was like, you know what, you're amazing, but you used to be the shittiest person I've ever known in my life.
It's like, thanks, Barrett. I thought we've come a long way, but no, you're still here to throw my immature ways if, Cloud were to say it in his face. No, I feel like we're going into this chapter and playing this chapter and chapter 17, there are some comments from Barrett where I'm just like, damn, you could be a jerk.
100%. Because it's also coming from a nice place almost where he's trying to be nice, but he's just an asshole.
He's really trying. And I guess that's all that matters. He's trying.
Like Camille said, we're doing chapters 16 and 17. Those are titled The Belly of the Beast and Deliverance from Chaos. So basically, shit is about to go down as the group finally heads to the Shinra headquarters. Today's theme is Battle Lines Drawn. Well, you obviously probably know what that is, where all hell breaks loose in the story. The main characters probably get into some big fights. And so I'm trying to think of maybe fights in movies or video games that happen that are crescendos. They're the big parts of something, but they're not necessarily the end. Can you think of anything specifically, Camille?
Okay, this is going to be a choice that probably seems like it's the end, but Endgame, that fight is super epic, but then it also I guess it is the conclusion for that arc. But then it leaves a lot of open questions, if that makes sense. Yes. And then it kind of resonates with the fact that this game is one part of a whole story. And every movie from the MCU is kind of one part of a whole story.
Oh, I like that. That reminds me also too, Infinity War, that big fight is kind of it's not necessarily the end as well. But Endgame leaves a lot of open endings, and as we've seen from some of these Marvel shows on Disney Plus, there's a lot of open ends, but we won't get into that because we don't want to spoil for you.
Let's spoil it for them.
No, yeah. No. Watch it for yourself. It's really good. The one that came to mind for me was Battle of the Bastards from Game of Thrones. This was one of the most epic battles of the entire show. It didn't necessarily end the series, but it was probably the best one. And then obviously the show fell off a cliff after that, but we don't have to talk about that too much.
It's okay. We won't.
Yeah. And then Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings. Oh, my favorite.
That's a
battle.
good one. That's a good
Two
one.
Towers is my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, by the way. I don't know if we ever got into this, but I don't even know if you're a big Lord of the Rings fan.
I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but it's cool. Like, I've watched them. I enjoyed them. I'm not the person to watch them over and over again.
Anything in video games specifically, Camille, that we can draw from?
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't really think about that, this being a video game podcast. I know. I feel like we have a lot of examples. I see here you're thinking Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes, I am. Which also, no, actually, you know what? I should say Kingdom Hearts 2.
It would be, 2.
Yeah, I'm jumbling up a lot of these things are like end battles, but they can't be. And then obviously there's Mass Effect 2, the suicide mission, which is one of my favorites. And then I realized which partners I didn't do well with my chemistry, and then they ended up dying at the end. And I was sad because I never got them back in Mass Effect 3. So make sure that you always get the best out of everyone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's true. I'm like, I can't think of video games for me, but Kingdom Hearts are a really good example. And I understand why you're mixing up everything just because, I mean, how many different Kingdom Hearts games are there?
Oh my God, there's 18 million, yeah. Which, by the way, I actually bought every single system just to play those games at the time. I bought a PSP just to play Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. I had a 3DS, even though I played Pokemon, but like I bought Kingdom Hearts 3D. There was like 18 different games for 18 different systems, and that's the worst thing I've ever seen, but maybe that's for another time.
Did you actually play them?
Oh, I played them fully. I played every single game. It's my favorite series of all time.
I'm so proud of you because some of them in there, you're like, maybe I shouldn't have played this. Yeah.
Some of them are pretty bad. It's okay.
Yeah.
When we come back, we answer some questions on AutoSave.
Nobody's home.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea where they might be holding Aerith?
I'm thinking a research facility. That'd make the most sense.
And where is that?
Upper floors. Maybe near the top. That's where you are.
Maybe.
Maybe we can use the console at the reception desk to find out.
So we start mission 16, getting through the underground garage at Shinra. There's slight problems. We got to deal with some guards, but then once we finally get to the Shinra building, it's empty, which is probably not a good sign. But if we take a closer look at that clip, actually, Cloud says that's where you are. Like Cloud can feel Aerith or something. Camille, I was kind of like, oh.
No, I didn't read that at all as like he could feel her. I just feel it's just Cloud being like, I guess, okay, she's up there because, I guess thinking back to when I was a soldier, this building.
Okay. Is that what it is?
Yeah, he added, I guess, she's there. That feeling kind of mystery. It's just a part of Cloud's persona. Really, the really interesting part about this is why is Barrett acting like he kind of still hates Cloud?
I know.
Like his grunting, his like him being upset that Cloud doesn't know for sure because it's like Cloud was with all the Shinra, goons when they took away Aerith, and he saw all of them put Aerith in a particular part of this building. For me, you're going to see how I'm like, just some of these things Barrett's saying, I'm like, Barrett, I used to love you, man, but some of this stuff you're spewing, it's not the right move. Not the right move.
But I mean, it's even weird for me. It's like Cloud was like, yeah, she's got to be a higher floor. Like, that makes sense. Like, what? Okay. Like, he just randomly understands that. Also, the place is completely empty. Do you recall the few missions before where they were easily able to get to the reactor and nobody was there and it was a trap? So now they're just like, oh, okay, let's do this too. There's nothing wrong.
Well, I feel like this group, they really need to learn their lessons. And I feel like this is a common like anime JRPG trope where it's like, characters never believe that something could happen, even though they've experienced it before. And, you know, they say that a few times in this missions. But yeah, like, it's very weird that this building is very quiet, should be a red flag right there. And it got me excited because I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to get into some battles.
Well, first, Tifa makes a brilliant decision and says, hey, we got to get up there with a key card. And there's a key card right there in the concourse help desk, but it's protected by lasers. So it's a job for Tifa. And she's got to do another climbing quest. Ooh, that's fun. Until you actually fall. And I don't know if you remember this specific part in that mission, but you fall as Tifa. And at the time, I thought I did something wrong and I had to restart it. But no, it was actually part of the whole thing.
Yeah, because they don't give you a lot of options. So pretty much you're climbing on the chandeliers of the building. But Tifa then decides to jump on, because the reception desk has a barrier on it. Also, red flag, who put the barrier there? Why is the key card just sitting on the desk with a barrier? But Tifa decides to climb and like jump on these chandeliers. And the options, they don't really give you much options in terms of the control you have over Tifa. It's just kind of like wiggle your way to the center of the chandelier and then jump. So when that happened, I was like, okay, they could have just done this in a better way.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it didn't really come across like, it didn't set me up as I did something wrong. It was more like, okay, this was supposed to happen, but this just could have been a cutscene. It could have been a cutscene. I didn't need to play this.
100% agree. But during this, you can actually get Tifa's final weapon, Purple Pain. So make sure you get that. Professor Hojo is on the 65th floor, so Cloud was right. But guess what? We can only get to the 59th floor, so we have to climb. Now you actually get a choice to take the stairs or the elevator. Which one did you choose?
Well, okay, so I accidentally so once you get the key card, you could open different doors. I accidentally opened the door for the stairs, and Barrett's response told me what not to do. He says something like, oh my God, it's going to be boring. So I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. So then I went to the elevator.
You know what's funny about that? I did the exact same thing. So I went to the stairs first because I'm like, obviously, I think elevator is going to be harder because it's going to be quicker and there are probably going to be more battles. So I'm like, let me take the stairs. But then Barrett says that, and I'm just like, he's right. I don't want to go up 59 flights of stairs. I'm going to get dizzy. So I'm just going to go to the elevator. So I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah. Although our reasoning was a little different. I definitely did not have I'm going to get dizzy from the staircase thought. I'm sorry, Nick.
No, that's okay. But we do get some funny cutscenes during these elevator scenes. One of them is someone comes on with a phone and kind of doesn't even notice that these three are there. And I'm thinking to myself, like, one guy has, a machine gun arm and the other one has a giant sword, and you're not suspicious whatsoever. Okay.
Yeah. That was really weird. And the guy's on the phone in the elevator, which I guess, people would do. No issues there. Although it's a pet peeve of mine. Don't be on the phone talking like you're the only person in the elevator. It's very annoying. But this guy's just there. And like the reaction Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa had were just like to gather in a corner facing the wall. The most suspicious way to avoid suspicion.
I know. While we're climbing too, we get an even weirder cutscene, by the way. And this shows Shinra's experimenting on materia, and Scarlet, I guess one of Shinra's cronies. We don't really see her too much in this game. She's on this big comfy couch watching as they experiment, and she's using a soldier as a footstool, and this soldier is like literally a dog. Like he's like panting, and when they move around, like he is also moving like a dog. Like it's not like he goes back on his legs, he actually like is on all fours.
Yeah, he's on all fours. It's so weird. And then the thing is about this, right? I don't think he likes it because he's trembling out of fear. I think this shows that like he's obviously scared of Scarlet. But then also, does Shinra have an HR? Like, I guess not with everything they're doing, because how do you put that on an ad? Like, must act like dog.
I mean, asking if these, I always think about like Star Wars and having like Stormtrooper HR. It's like, well, the Emperor just threw me onto a wall. That like, and then the HR is like, well, we can't really do anything about it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But that's the case as well. And also like the materia, I guess the experiment goes haywire and it starts to malfunction, and Scarlet basically traps the scientists inside for no reason.
No reason at all. Especially like, I mean, for me, you would think scientists who have been doing research would be the most valuable because they have all that knowledge, right? I know they may log it into computers, but at the end of the day, those are the people that you would want to have them continue their experience until they get it right. So to just trap them in there and just be like, oh, peace, good luck, in the afterlife. It's very weird, very weird.
There's also another tidbit in that cutscene, which is it shows Cloud, Tifa, and Barret on a security camera, but then when the guard looks away, they mysteriously vanish, and I'm gotta think that this is from the Spectres, right?
Yeah, I think that is, because it does that weird little static thing that we see happens when Cloud gets these visions. So yeah, I guess, but it's really hard to figure out these Spectres because you never know what they want. There's so much mystery. I don't even know what to say about why they're helping the group.
As we continue, there's also another cutscene with Reeve. Basically shows that he's the only good guy within the Shinra Corporation, trying to protect all sectors from having them being destroyed again, because again, that's what Shinra wants and the president wants, because, he's a dickhead. But back to the gang who learn some more about Shinra, Midgar, and get a little lesson in the VR room.
In the distant past, our planet was home to a people we call the Ancients. Many millennia before we discovered Mako, these precursors were already pioneering its use. Somehow they learned of the great reservoir of energy pulsing beneath their feet. And once they had, the Ancients developed the means to harness this bountiful energy and bend it to their will. The fruits of their labors have survived to this very day in the form of certain kinds of materia. Their scripture, too, has endured. We who are born of the planet, with her we speak, her flesh we shape. Unto her promised land shall we one day return. By her loving grace and providence, may we take our place in paradise. Alas, the Ancients themselves are long gone. 2,000 years ago, a meteor brought an end to their civilization. But before their fiery end, did the Ancients find their promised land? Even now, we have only to wonder.
So we learn a lot there from this very generic corporation VR training session. Basically everything about the Ancients. What are your thoughts on this? I thought that was pretty cool.
It was really cool. My reaction was the same as Barret. Like Barret the whole time was like, because he has such a deep voice, right? You could really hear Barret amongst like the others. But he was just like, oh. That was pretty much my reaction. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I can't wait till we get to the point where like a VR experience, like just in a museum without any glasses, is exactly like that one.
Oh, that would be so sick.
I cannot wait. But yeah, we do get a lot of information. It's cool that we learn about or see a little bit about how the ancients were, or how Shinra is making it seem like the ancients were very like to themselves, very about, you know, farming, all that stuff. And it just filled in kind of those gaps that we learn about Aerith in terms of like who her people are. So yeah, it was a cool way I think the game did in order to fill you in. Like some games would give you a lengthy story of like a character telling you this, and then it's just a long cutscene of like people talking. But I like that they did it this way.
Especially, I like to think always about if civilizations lived before us and they were, you know, they had great technology or whatever. Everyone always talks about it, like Atlantis, or like I just wonder like when the ancients were part of this world, and it's got to be relatively new if Aerith is still part of those people, right?
This is where I think the game, in terms of the story writing and like the narrative of like keeping the timelines making, or like these different pinnacle moments through the history of Midgard, makes sense. Because you're right. It seems like some people don't know about the ancients. It seems like a myth. But then for Shinra, where they probably get lots of visitors that do this tour, they talk about the ancients. So it's like, why doesn't more people know about them? And then it's like, yeah, is this pretty recent since Aerith? Well, we don't actually know how long they've lived, right? Because we don't know when Aerith's mother, like how long since the beginning of the ancients. So really, we just don't know. But the fact that a comet killed them or wiped them from, you know, this place would tell me it's a long time ago. So yeah, it's just confusing. The game doesn't know what it wants to do.
Speaking of confusing, right after we get another little bit here with Sephiroth comes into the VR. I'm confused. Is this still VR? I don't know what's happening, but it's a cutscene where now Tifa and Barrett can actually see what Cloud is seeing, and it shows a kind of like, you know, Armageddon day of I guess another meteor coming. With Sephiroth at the helm, and I don't know really what's going on.
Yeah, this was really, really interesting to me because Tifa's reaction, like we don't know Tifa's relationship with Sephiroth, like how she kind of knows of him, why she's also scared of him. Yeah. So we're getting some sense there that she's terrified of him. She's shocked at seeing him. So there's something that happened here that is bigger than, I guess, you know, just Tifa or bigger than Cloud, right? It obviously involves more people here. But yeah, this whole meteor and like coming out of it, none of them know what the heck that was. So was this part of the initial VR programming? Hey, like an engineer's like, hey, let's scare some people and put this soldier in here, you know, this legendary soldier, or was this another thing the Spectres made happen?
I don't know what the Spectres want, and it's just really confusing to me. But it's, again, like we know what happens in the original game. You know, there is this whole thing with this meteor. That's the whole kind of point of it, and then I have to stop it. I guess they're just trying to show us maybe that this is a very real possibility for the future if they don't stop what's going on. But again, maybe that's why the Spectres are showing them this, to kind of get fear in their eyes in case, I don't know, it's weird. Because before that, Sephiroth was never around in anyone else's visions.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like that's why this is bigger than just Cloud. It's not a vision of Cloud's. It's maybe the Spectres doing this, because we've seen how they've influenced Tifa to see Marlene. Or the ghosts see Marlene, which I don't know what's a Spectre now and what's not.
Right.
But it seems like there's something else that's definitely revealing things to this group. And I was just really happy to see this finally happen, because I was kind of getting tired with Cloud having these visions of Sephiroth and him just saying, I'm fine. Like, I swear if Cloud said I'm fine one more time, I would just hop into the game and be like, no, you're not. Talk to your friends, Cloud. They're here for you. They're concerned. So I'm really happy that now kind of everybody's in the loop, although they're not addressing it specifically.
Well, a lot of things happen while we're trying to get to the 65th floor, which is getting really annoying. It's like we get to 61, then we need a card here, then we get to 63, then we need something here. Whatever has happened here, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we meet this guy named Hart who wants us to meet Mayor Domino, which I had no idea who he was until, whatever. The mayor is actually a good guy trying to help Avalanche. He helps us. He gives us a card to get closer to Hojo. But yeah, it gets really confusing. There's also a part where Palmer, who's also part of Shinra, actually sees Sephiroth in the building. So now it looks like everyone can see Sephiroth, which that's when things are going to go down if Sephiroth is now visual. But that also triggers a cutscene with Hojo.
If she had only trusted me instead of trying to run, it could have played out quite differently. What a terrible tragedy to lose the last of the pure-blooded ancients. Though not completely, would you like to see your mother? Albeit through the lens of one of my microscopes. Did you really think we'd leave such a precious specimen to rot in the gutter? We collected and cataloged every last bit of her. Hair, skin, organs, every fragment of every bone. As breathtaking in death as in life. As you, my dear, if fauna was elegance, right down to her cellular structure.
He's such a creep. He is when he's just up against the glass, I'm like, I need to unsee this.
He's like typical, like nerdy, creepy movie guy, right? Like he was insane.
That was like, he hits all the check marks, definitely.
So we learn a little bit, maybe, Aerith, again, she knows a little bit about her past. It seems like Hojo alludes to her maybe knowing about it, but it's really unfortunate that her mom got completely experimented on where they kind of like destroyed her. So no wonder her mom tried to let her escape. But again, it makes no sense to me, this whole like cat and mouse game where I remember before Aerith had to come willingly to them with the Turks in order for something like, I don't understand that.
Well, yeah, because see, this is the thing about this game. All right. And a lot of JRPGs.
Let's get down to it.
Yeah. The thing about like, we love these stories. They're really great generally, but they do have these points where certain plot points doesn't connect with other things that happen in the story. So like the fact that Aerith had to come willingly. Now it doesn't seem like that, but they don't necessarily explain the fact that now they're going to be more aggressive with her. So it leaves us to be like, wait, like why would they kind of just threaten? Why would Hojo threaten to tell Aerith that he completely tore her mother apart if she had to come willingly? Like, what was the point of saying she had to come willingly? And what was the point of her not being already captured? And having multiple interactions with the Turks. It doesn't make sense. But this also may just be that Hojo is, yes, very creepy, but also has his own agenda that may not line up with what Shinra wants. You always have that, that trope of the mad scientist that just goes too far and sometimes just does it for their own reasons rather than the overarching reasons of the, what we believe is the main villain. So maybe that is a situation here, or the situation here.
That's a good point. He seems like he does things to himself and he doesn't really explain his reasoning or what he's doing. He kind of just is like creepy in the shadows and does this thing on his own. So maybe that'll come into some play later on. But fast forward, this is getting a little convoluted because they're jumping back and forth. They're going from cutscene to cutscene. And now we're back with Cloud and the gang. And I have to mention this because two Shinra guards notice and recognize Cloud and actually have a conversation with him. And one of them says, "I thought you got smoked," meaning I thought you got killed. And now my brain is working. It's tingling. It's telling me what the hell is up with Cloud. So we think we talked about this before in terms of like him maybe being a clone. We know some of his theories or what transpired in the original game, but now it's kind of a little different because of the way this game is going. But maybe Cloud is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, maybe this is like a kind of like Final Fantasy X thing where Tidus was actually never alive.
Ah, interesting. I didn't think about that. I kind of don't want to go back to that. But I'm going to take part of your theory. I will take half your theory and I will meld it into mine. I think he did get smoked, but the body of Cloud was experimented on to create a clone Cloud. This is Clone Cloud.
Ooh, okay. All right. I buy that.
Yeah, because even when we see Sephiroth, like there's something happening there. Maybe it's the same with Sephiroth. Clone Sephiroth. Clone Cloud, clone Sephiroth.
All right, I take it. I like it. We actually have to follow around President Shinra into a conference room. And I thought this scene was really funny because you have to eavesdrop. And in order to do that, you have to go into the men's bathroom. So your whole team is just in this like tiny stall of a men's bathroom. And I was like, finally, we get to see our main characters either have to go number 1 or number 2. Finally, a game is going to join this endeavor. No one in movies or video games or TV ever goes to the bathroom half the time in any of their shows or movies or video games. And now we get to see it, but no, they just had to go up a vent. But I was maybe a little bit too, no, I don't want to say too excited because that's creepy of like, ooh, yeah, let's go into I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm going to stop me. You better stop me, Cam.
No, I want you to keep going because it's very interesting. Your obsession with the bathroom. Although I feel
it's
like
not obsession, okay? It's not obsession. It's just I think it's funny
I'm
that
kidding.
Regular it's like when characters in movies and TV shows they eat. They don't really eat. They stir their food around and pretend to take a bite, but they never
actually
Yes.
see them eat. And you're
all.
right. Most of the time you never actually see anyone go to the washroom unless it's like built into the game to be a thing. But yeah, I did not have that same expectation here. I knew we weren't going to see anyone go to the washroom. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry.
Press square to relieve yourself before the giant cutscene comes after this. Okay, I'm gonna end it. I'm sorry.
No, oh gosh, no, none of those mechanics. But I do love the fact that Tifa in this scene, like she's just very like shy about being in the men's bathroom. Like she doesn't want to go into the men's bathroom. So it's really sweet to see like that side of her as well. Although like she kicks ass all the time, she's still like very like coy about things.
So we finally, after all of this, there's 8 million cutscenes. There's basically too many to get through. Some of them are kind of convoluted or really don't need explaining. It's just, the president's posse kind of talking. But we finally get to the 65th floor. We confront Hojo, and he manages to set his specimens on us. It's another boss fight here. Did you find these guys kind of tough? It was an eye specimen and then this like giant gorgonzola thing.
No, I was fine with it. I didn't really have any issues here. I was just trying to use magic, and then I realized actually this thing doesn't really have any weaknesses, and it just takes off like a reduced amount of damage. But like it's just like you just kind of go at it with like a butter knife and hope that you reach the end. How about you?
Yeah, I felt the same way. Just I'm at this point where my adrenaline is going so far. I didn't even like really pay attention to the fight. I kind of wanted to know exactly what was happening after that because it was getting exciting. So this part is just like, let's just get through it and then see where it goes. And it doesn't disappoint because right after, Hojo basically is about to explain to Cloud that he's not a soldier. And then that's where the Spectres show up and they drive him away. So clearly, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I need answers.
Yeah, these two chapters, there's so much that happens in terms of story progression. in a short period of time that when you have fights like this, you're just like, okay, I just need to get this done. It just becomes like a necessity at this point. Like, it's just like, I'm going to power through it. So yeah, I think that's why I didn't really notice too much difficulty with this battle. Like you, I was just eager to see what happens next. And when Hojo kind of drops that and the confusion, because we really just see Cloud's reaction to what Hojo says. And it doesn't seem like, what the hell are you talking about? It seems like, yes, he's in a little bit of shock, but then there's just like, wait, am I? Like a question that Cloud is leaving open. And that has me guessing why, like, I guess maybe it's all the visions Cloud is having that may have him believe in what Hojo is telling him, or may have him question that maybe Hojo is right. But there is that little twinkle in like Cloud's eyes that like it may be a possibility.
It's very true. I'm very excited to see. I mean, again, I don't know, how many answers we get here, but clearly they're alluding to something big with Cloud. I really want to know what that is. But we actually get to rescue Aerith finally. But in the process, we open a cage of another inmate, and they confront us.
A fascinating question.
Oh, did it just talk?
You asked what it is. I am that which you see before you, nothing more. I'd appreciate it if we simply left it at that. Agreed?
13?
Red 13. The designation given to me by Hojo.
Then you must have another name. What is it?
Red 13, baby. I've been waiting for him. I didn't actually expect him to be in this game.
Neither did I.
So I was excited when I saw him.
He's just so cool. There's something cool about any character, like human or animal, that has like any metallics or like rings in their hair or like on their ears. I'm like, oh, you're cool. You're cool. And he's a cool guy.
He kind of alludes to he used to be a human, so I can only assume what Hojo has done to him, right?
Yes, exactly. He's something else. Like, yeah, obviously, as Red explains it, he is something else now. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of his story play out and what we get from it, and if it's the same as, what people may know from the original.
It's cool too that Aerith kind of like calms him down, and then like, was he not able to talk beforehand? Because she uses some weird hand gesture, and then he goes from growling to then talking like he's Shakespeare.
Yeah, because it's obviously like he's of higher intelligence than like a rat dog or whatever they call it, but a rat dog. But it seems like maybe Aerith does something, or maybe it's just Red kind of fights with these animal instincts that he has. So like immediately he was thinking like maybe they're foes. But then it seems like he knows Aerith. Aerith knows him based on like them being in the lab, because Aerith says this child, like she refers to him as a child. Oh, yeah. So it's, again, what's happening? We don't know.
One final cutscene right before chapter 16 ends. Cloud ends up starting to glitch and then starts walking closer to the elevator. This is kind of like we saw before. Sephiroth kind of goes through that elevator already, so we kind of see him do that. So my only thought is like, again, I always think he has some sort of Sephiroth in him, which is why he's being led that way. Unless it's maybe specters that are telling him that that's where you need to go. It was just kind of like a scene that was put in there, but really had no context whatsoever. Yeah,
I feel like what's happening here is definitely clone Cloud. And with piece of Sephiroth, just because of how Sephiroth's like, don't deny me, the reunion is gonna happen. So I feel like it's definitely something here. What's weird though is it seems like everybody went back to not being able to see Sephiroth. Like there's still these weird moments where only Cloud sees Sephiroth, or he'll only see the feather of Sephiroth, but no one else would see it. So that's what's frustrating for me going and playing this game. It's like, I thought we made progress, but we didn't.
Maybe we will make more progress as chapter 16 ends. We go on to 17, and maybe we get some answers of what you're exactly asking right now. Camille, we'll find out after the break on AutoSave.
Oh, great! These assholes again! Probably some Shinra science experiment.
Whispers. Perhaps best described as arbiters of fate. They are drawn to those who attempt to alter destiny's course and ensure they do not.
Like capital D? Destiny?
The flow of the great river that is the planet, from inception to oblivion.
And you're saying that that flow is somehow fixed?
Yes, for it is the will of the planet itself.
So if we're destined for a bleak future, these Whisperers will try to keep us on that course? Now wait just a damn minute. How in the hell can you possibly know any of that? Spouting that cryptic stuff, which could all be bullshit. I mean, ain't you a Shinra lab rat or dog?
The Shinra Electric Power Company isn't the real enemy. It started with them, sure, but I promise you, there's a much bigger threat. I just want to do everything in my power to help. All of you. And the planet.
Welcome back to AutoSave, and Chapter 17 starts with some answers, thankfully, as we get to find a little bit more about these specters who are actually called Whispers now. And they're basically what seems like the TVA from Marvel, basically trying to keep everyone on the same timeline, but basically saying like they're trying to keep Destiny's course. That's an interesting statement.
There is so much of TVA happening right here. Yeah, so, and it's interesting to me that Red knows all of this.
Oh, I know, right.
Yeah, we met this new character who is mystery to everybody, except Aerith. It seems like him and Aerith are more in tune with what's happening. And then I guess to show Red's knowledge up on the Whisperers, Aerith's like, hey, I know things too. Trust me, Shinra's not the main enemy. There's something more here.
Right.
Like, talk about dropping really, or actually solving two of the biggest mysteries I think that we faced up to this part. Like, what the heck are those specters that we now know as the Whisperers? And, like, why is Sephiroth here? And, like, is he in cahoots with Shinra? Which, you know, we know that he's not.
We kind of knew what these specters were. Or these Whispers, I guess. Our guesses were all that they were just trying to keep things on its course and not stray things in terms of like if people died, coming back to life, or going here and then they're them trying to like send us in a different direction. Seems like it all made sense this way, and now I'm just like, okay. But again, I really want to know why that is and why they're doing that. I guess keeping an order into existence. Again, like I just keep thinking of the TVA here in terms of keeping, you know, the status quo in terms of how the story is going. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Because they are a new element or characters to this reiteration of the story, right? So they're not in the original game. And we've talked about this before in previous episodes. This is kind of like how it looks like the remake is going to change things for Final Fantasy VII fans. So it'll be interesting how they kind of play into that, because now it seems like I'm hoping for the next one, as we're kind of winding down this adventure, this part of the remake, it seems like it's kind of opening up for a whole new world of possibilities. So I like that now we just get the explanation and we know for sure that the Whisperers doesn't have things go their way. Then we know it's something new that's not supposed to happen. And that keeps things really interesting. They're branching timelines.
Your explanation sounds just as convoluted as the game. There's just so many pieces going on at once. But onwards and upwards, we now are moving up out of Hojo's lab, and we move some further up the building, and then we see, well, guess who?
What is that?
Genova.
Mother, together we will reclaim our world.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this.
Well, there's Tifa again with the same cutscene that we saw actually earlier in the game. But this time she takes up the sword. I don't know what's going on exactly.
Yeah, it's the exact same cutscene, right? Because in the first time when you saw this, it was like she was crying over her father and took the sword to kill Sephiroth, or I would think that's what they're trying to hint to. But it seems like that it's that scene, but there's either more dialogue there or it's another. Like it's almost the same scene, but it's not.
I know. I don't know. But we find out more about Genova,
so
right?
Weird.
And it's Sephiroth's mom. We know kind of this antagonist in the Final Fantasy series.
For those who played, yeah. For those who
yes,
played,
but
yeah.
we don't necessarily know what's happening exactly here. But Sephiroth is taking Genova out of her little pod thing or whatever and dragging her to God knows where. But this is the first time, basically, that the whole gang actually sees Sephiroth right there in front of them. So this whole time we've seen these Cloud glitches, and now everyone can see what Cloud is seeing. That's interesting to me.
Well, the meteor, right? Didn't they see Sephiroth at the meteor, right?
They did, but that was like the VR experience, and I'm sure maybe they didn't really know what was going on, but now it's like, hey, it's that guy. Now he's here right in front
there.
of us.
He's here right in front of us. Okay. Yeah. It again making progress. We'll see after this scene if it's actual progress. if they go back to not seeing him again. But yeah, the fact that other people were also seeing Sephiroth, it just makes it seem like it's leading up to like it's about to go down. And we also get more of a sense as to what Sephiroth's mission is.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
It seems like he's answering to Genova.
Yes.
So maybe there is more here to like the story.
It's like we're almost guessing everything.
Well, yeah, because we don't want to give everything away for people who haven't, played the first game, right?
Sure, but I'm sure, like, even at the end of this, I don't think we're going to be able to answer a lot of things anyway.
No, we won't.
This game is
we
just
won't.
very,
we won't.
just so, yeah, there's so many, like, layers.
And there's so many layers, but there's so many layers just to the remake, because it's like fans who even played the original are going to be like, wait, what? Because you don't see Sephiroth like this. We've talked about this. You don't see him this early on in the game. So I have no idea what this game is trying to do.
But that's why, like, I want to say to the audience is like, we're as confused as you are because we don't really know what's happening either. We're trying to make sense of it the best way that we can.
Yeah, but it's really exciting. Like, I love that all of this is just like unraveling in 2 chapters.
Well, guess what? Cloud falls down another shaft. I think this is the 8th time he's fallen down to his demise, but is okay.
Maybe he suffers from vertigo, like, or another reason why you don't have a big sword. Maybe his sword is off balancing him. I'm just saying he falls a lot.
Okay.
He falls a lot.
But the whole gang is now split apart, and they basically have to find their way back together. Once they do, it's basically a cat and mouse game. Everyone comes together. We're trying to go after Hojo at the same time. And right before we actually do all end up together, we have to fight another boss. And this is the flying fish bot himself, Swordipede, who I'm mentioning this because I got really frustrated with this fight. You have to fight this boss as Cloud and Barret, which is really easy. Then you have to do it with Tifa and Aerith, which I had a real tough time with because there's some mechanic in there where this Swordipede, I guess what it's called, spins as almost like a shuriken. and I couldn't master the timing of it.
Yeah, I didn't have a hard time with this boss. I'm trying to empathize with you. But
that's okay. No, it's fine. You can call me out. Call me out.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
To each their own. But yeah, firstly, Swordipede sounds like some sort of Pokemon. Just putting it out there. I couldn't get over it.
It does, yeah.
Also, it does, sorry. Also, like, I do like with this boss how you kind of start off with this boss going after Barrett and Cloud, and then you have to fight with Tifa and Aerith. Like, this whole section, actually, these 2 chapters, I really did enjoy. Like, I enjoyed how they were split apart, how you kind of have to work in these 2 different groups, and then leading up to this fight. It wasn't challenging, but it was just a nice little cherry on top of the sundae.
As they get closer together too, we kind of see more with Hojo, and we find out that, he's been studying Jenova and apparently the catechism that came from the stars. Again, there's a lot of connections to the original game, but we're not really 100% sure where it's headed because everything just seems different here. So I'm not really sure what Hojo has done with Jenova or what Sephiroth is trying to do with Jenova now.
All I know, I feel sorry for Jenova because she looks murked by experiments. She does, like, not her best day.
Well, we finally get to the president's office, which is floor number 69. Nice.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So we basically follow Sephiroth. He's leading a trail with Genova's like blood and guts. I don't know what it is. It's like this purplish hue that we're following, and we ended up at floor 69, and we find the president who's calling for help, and he's dangling off the side of the building. And we don't kill him. We rescue him, and I have a real issue with that. I would have just crunched his fingers and let him fall to his death, like a Die Hard scene.
Yeah. Well, okay, you bring up a good point because leading up to this, there were a couple, if maybe one, but I feel like a couple cutscenes because there's so many cutscenes that happen in these 2 chapters where Tifa starts realizing like there's actually real people here with families that's working at Shinra as they're going through the Shinra building. And Barrett and her have these discussions, and Barrett is always like, yeah, but they're not innocent. They're still working for the man who is killing thousands of people, or hundreds of people. So you see that Tifa's kind of battling with what she originally signed up for with Avalanche. And we see this in other chapters as well, but it's really bringing home that point in these last 2 chapters. And then this scene with the president, I was kind of hesitant. Like at first I was like, yeah, kill that sucker because like he killed so many people.
Yeah.
And he's just pure evil. Like his first thing too, like it's never a good sign when someone's first offer for like saving their life is money. Like I'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'll give you so much money. It's like, okay, you're kind of a jerk. We know what's on your mind, but it's like, do you then set aside how you would treat others just to get revenge for all the other people that lost their lives? But then at the same time, like that's Tifa's point of view and Aerith, because Aerith is also like, stop, like asking Barrett to stop, because Barrett's also like grabbing him by his wrist and like juggling him in a sense. But then with Barrett, I understand why you would also want to seek that revenge, because who does the president answer to? It seems like he answers to no one. Like there's no jail he could go to. Like it's very corrupt. So it's like you have to kind of be that answer. It's a tough dilemma.
I mean, it's not a tough dilemma for me. I would just let him die because you can't trust this guy. This guy wants to kill millions of people just for the sake of his company. So realistically, I have no sympathy for this guy. But guess what? I'm right, because you clearly can't trust this son of a bitch.
One last opportunity to consider what your principles are truly worth. But bear in mind that time is of the essence.
And what about you, Mr. President? What are your vaunted principles?
What principles? Did you understand even a single word of what I told you? I know what I want, and I take it. I take advantage of whatever I can, and discard that which I cannot. There is no room for sentiment or guilt.
You son of a bitch!
Barrett!
What the hell?
Yeah. Now I'm confused. I had this whole frame of mind the entire game. Whispers are trying to protect Destiny, but Barrett doesn't die. So what the hell just happened?
I was completely taken I almost shed a tear. I didn't shed a tear, but I almost shed a tear for Barrett. And like I was completely shocked because I'm like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? And this is the thing. This game has all these plot holes, but it's really good at captivating even fans that played the original game because it throws you in for a loop because you're like, wait, how's the rest of the game supposed to go if he's dead? Plus, then does this mean that like in the original he was supposed to die? Like, I don't know what's Destiny. Right? Like,
Exactly.
was the original not what was destined to happen? So then, like, my whole theory about these whisperers and how, if things don't go the way that it happened in the original game, that means that we're kind of creating a breached timeline for like something else to happen. It's another possibility. But now I'm thinking maybe the original game was a breached timeline and it was something that was not supposed to happen. So now if these whispers have something happen, that's actually that's the main time. Like, I do not know what is going on.
I know. I on cue, like Sephiroth shows up, he stabs the president. That made sense to me. But again, the Whispers show up. They help him basically kill Barrett, who stabs him as well. It's just none of this makes sense right now. And I'm just as shocked as the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what's happening. But guess what? You have no time to even think about it because you're straight into a giant boss battle.
Yeah, I know. You feel for these characters and then like you're trying to mourn the loss. They're like, no, we're going to a boss fight.
And it's Genova Dreamweaver, basically warping the entire office into an illusion. I'm not really sure where Sephiroth is, but this is a pretty cool boss fight. It's Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud. And this thing basically has 8 million tentacles and you have to destroy them all.
Yeah, this fight was really frustrating. I really did not like this fight at all.
Okay.
Just because Aerith to me is just so useless sometimes in battle.
Yeah, it's true.
Because, Aerith, you don't have her for a couple good chunks of the game. So in terms of leveling her up, she's at a lower level. So her defense is really low for me. So every hit, it was kind of like, oh my God, there goes Aerith. She's going to die now. I got to cure her. And that's like wasting a spell I could use.
Yeah.
But then when I got into like when the tentacles appear and then it's more just like knocking those off and like cutting them and then going at the Dreamweaver, then you kind of get into the loop of it all and you find your groove.
It's a good point because Aerith, she's my white mage and I have to cure her more than any other player. And that gets a little frustrating. But the tentacles too, I felt like there was an excessive amount of tentacles where I'm like, okay, I think I got all 6 of them. Oh wait, no, there's 3 more. I got it. That was the only annoying part for me was like the constant tentacles.
Yes. Everyone's nightmare.
Yes. Once you defeat this Genova Dreamweaver, guess what? It transforms. And what does it transform into? Marco from earlier in the game, number 49. He had number 49 tattooed on him. You kind of knew that he was a Sephiroth clone, but here he is, Marco. Guess what? Cloud should have killed him when he had the chance. Tifa said, no, he's a nice boy, Marco. He's from our town, even though he looks like he's diseased to all hell.
Yeah.
And there you go. Now he was Genova Dreamweaver. I guess Sephiroth kind of put him and morphed him into this boss.
Yeah, like what the heck? Okay, firstly, I guess this kind of leads to your point. Yeah, just kill someone when you have the option to do it, because with the president, maybe Barrett would still be alive. With, Marco, maybe you wouldn't have this really annoying fight. But okay, so we've seen now, I think twice, where it's like clones, or a few times where like clones have turned into things, right? So it's like, I guess they're under Sephiroth's control. Like you would think they're experiments of Shinra, but it just seems like Sephiroth's like pulling all the strings here with them. So I don't know, maybe because it's a part of Sephiroth, like he has the more control than Shinra thinks they have.
Guess what? Barrett's not dead, actually. The Whispers come back and save him. So now, Camille, okay, I've had enough. I'm frustrated. I don't know what's going on here. The Whispers helped basically Sephiroth kill Barrett, and then we're like, nah, actually, he's got to come back to life. And Red 13 says this death was not ordained for you by faith. So now, again, like, I guess that makes the most sense. The only thing I can think of is Barrett was going to kill Sephiroth there. But really, was that actually going to happen? Were the Whispers like, oh shit?
One of them was like, oh yeah, he's definitely supposed to die. And then after like the battle with the Dreamweaver, one of them's like, wait, no, it's not this Barrett. It's Barrett from Sector 5. And they're like, oh, okay, let's put some life back into this guy.
It doesn't make any sense. But I think I honestly think it was probably just put in here as like, let's shock the audience.
Yes.
And then let's divert their expectations. And then let's just say, joke's on you. He's actually alive. And with no real substance to why they did it. That's my only guess.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was the shock factor.
Well, anyway, Sephiroth dips with Genova. That's basically all with him. Specters are everywhere. They're basically circling all of the Shinra building. Not really sure what's going on. But we're not done here because it's time to escape, or at least try.
If it ain't Rufus Shinra, heir to the throne himself.
Yep. Take Aerith and get out of here. I'll buy you guys some time.
I can stay here, back you up.
Barrett, I'm asking you. Please.
Fine. Have it your way then. But you better be right behind us.
So there you have it. We meet Rufus, a character we've never met before, and we go straight into a boss fight with Rufus of a character we've never met before.
I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, I actually like when we have a character and they're like, I already know I hate you, so let's just fight. And it's like, okay, cool, we'll do that. Like, if you want to make an introduction, I guess this is an introduction to make. Yeah. How did you find it? Like, this is hard.
This was, for me, the hardest boss fight in the game for me. I actually spent, and I think I was timing myself, over an hour.
Oh, wow.
I could not. And I was searching on YouTube. Again, this is, I guess, showing me maybe I'm not the gamer expert that I preach I am on this podcast. But I couldn't find the right techniques. And then I realized like I didn't have the right spells maybe to do this. But because I was already halfway done the battle, I just tried to grind it out. And that's basically all I did is grind it out with potions and magic. And because he's super hard, like his countering is incredible. I mean, his health bar is huge. And it's just like that for me. Like this was the fight, the main boss fight of the game, really, for me, because it was like, holy crap, this is extremely difficult.
Well, okay, we gotta take.
You can say if it was easy for you, that's fine. You can talk shit.
No. It wasn't easy. It took me. So Dreamweaver took me a little bit. I did die once with Genova Dreamweaver. But then when I got into this, it was just really hard. I was trying to find my flow. I think I had the wrong materia set. Then I found out, oh, I don't think this guy has any weaknesses. This is great. Because what he does is he uses Darkstar, right? Yeah. As like his backup. And then even if you attack Darkstar, then he attacks you. So it's like really two bosses that you're fighting at once and they're equally hard. And when you combine them together, they're just really quick. And you can't get close to them because then it's over. Because then they just like do a barrage of different moves. What happened for Camille of past was I got to the point where I was close to beating him. I decided to focus most of my energy to Darkstar. I was like, if I got rid of Darkstar, then he won't be able to cure And then it seems like he just has guns. Like I'm pretty sure fire would just do enough damage for Rufus himself. So I finally got rid of Darkstar, and then I made a noob mistake. I was almost close to dying, and I should have used Cure, but instead I was being greedy, and I wanted to just speed through the fight, and I used fire instead. And then Rufus got close to me, and he shot me, and I died. And then instead, it doesn't, no, Nick, it does not end there. Instead of just restarting the battle, I accidentally clicked restart series of fight. So then I had to fight Genova. Again.
Oh.
Dreamweaver.
Gamer's worst nightmare.
And then Rufus and Darkstar again. So it was a very long fight for me for different reasons. Very infuriating. But I think the key here is if you really hit hard with Darkstar, focus all of your energy. Dodge is really important. So when Thunder's coming at you with Rufus and Darkstar, you got to dodge that. Darkstar's corkscrew, you got to dodge that. Be really good at guarding as well for the bullets, because that will help your ATB meter go up. Once you get in that groove, then this fight is so much easier. And I actually found it really enjoyable when I got rid of Darkstar, because then it becomes more of a closer fight, one-on-one with you and Rufus. And the moves that he pulls with something out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Like he is just, 100%. He could be one of the characters in that. So yeah, I enjoyed this fight though.
I defeated Darkstar pretty quick, and it was Rufus that gave me the toughest time because his counters and his quickness.
You were trying to get close to him.
Yes, because I don't have that much MP, and I was playing conservative because that's why I was playing for like over an hour. I had to use a bunch of Aethers, I had to use a bunch of Cure magic, so I was playing conservative. I was only doing fire once in a while, and a lot of times my fire got interrupted because he's so fast.
Yeah, I feel like MP actually, you're right. MP doesn't really work on Rufus alone because he also has a resistance to some of that, I believe, or it's like reduced damage. But when he's reloading, you have to time his reloads and then try to do like a break attack or a focus, like one of your abilities, or triple strike. Is it called triple strike? I don't even remember now. But
there's different ones. Triple strike.
Yeah, there's different one. But it's the abilities, I think, that really hit him, and you have to time it with the reloads. So then I would just block all of his shots and his barrages and dodge. Like when he uses the 2 coins to like do a laser beam at you. Oh, okay. And then I found that helped my ATB go up, and then I attacked him.
Okay, that makes sense. Every time I tried that, I just couldn't time it right, and I would miss, and that was the issue. And so I just played it slow, fire. I would fire and then kind of heal up, and then maybe attack him once in a while, maybe use an ATB attack. But that took me so long. I was playing conservative though too, so I didn't die. I wouldn't be greedy, and I wouldn't throw out a fire magic if I didn't have enough. And then so I didn't have to at least play it over again. I sympathized with you, but I did spend a long time with it. Once you do defeat Rufus, though, he escapes. Basically, you know that he's probably going to be in the game moving forward, and not this game, sorry, but in the franchise moving forward, because we don't see him again. It's almost like Roche, that crazy motorcycle guy who we see once and then he's gone, and hopefully we get more context with this guy, because again, President Shinra is dead, so now he's the leader of Shinra moving forward. But as Cloud escapes from a barrage of bullets from the Turks, Aerith and Barrett have problems of their own, as they have their own boss fight with a big giant ass mech. How did you find this fight?
It was difficult as well, and it was like, I love the fact that it was just boss battle after boss battle, but I was like, can I just heal up for 2 seconds? Because it's like then cutscenes in between that. So it's like you never actually get a full rest. It was really, really tough for me, this one, because again, Aerith, my Aerith takes damage so quickly. Her defense is not the best. So I was luckily I had Cure on Barrett, so I could use Cure for Aerith. And then in return, but it was the main cannon really with this enemy, like, because you have to like attack or target the main cannon when it appears. So that was that was difficult. It was, yeah. And then their charge, that also, like if they're charging Aerith, that was also really hard. But I had a refocus materia attached to Aerith, so that did not help with Aerith getting that low health, but it did help with Barrett because I had an ATB materia as well, so it helped his gauge go up, and then I could do his focused shot.
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You gotta go behind some concrete once in a while and dodge these giant blasts or whatever they are. But it was a fun fight. These main fights at the end here were all fun, regardless of how hard they were. It was a nice kind of like hecticness that I like seeing out of like, you know, end missions where you kind of just have to fight after fight after fight. It was enjoyable. But they do end up escaping without Cloud until they get surrounded by Heidegger and his men.
We have them surrounded, sir.
Yes, I can see that. It was only a matter of time. Here we are. So then, what is this ragtag group of misfits I see before me? Avalanche!
Local florist.
Lab rat dog.
And where are the rest of you? Up your ass. Charming, though not what I would have chosen as my last words. Secure the ancient, but feel free to kill both the idiot and the dog.
Yeah! Best part of the game. I was like, woo! Cloud is on a motorcycle. He's saving the day. The music is going loud. I'm loving it. Yeah!
I was more like, yeah, local florist.
Rat dog, woo!
Lab rat dog. Those were the worst. Like, don't use that as a title for yourself. A lab rat dog. But that just shows
gonna be the
how
title
cool
of this
it
show, Lab Rat Dog.
Yeah, lab rat dog. Yeah, no, this is really cool. I'm like, oh my god, I can't wait till the next one.
The same thing too. Like, Cloud comes to save the day, and then they all escape in this tiny ass car.
Yes,
and Barrett is like.
He's like weighing the car, and the car like literally goes put 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 put. It's a putt putt car that makes that sound as it drives. Like, it is such.
It's going so fast though, and Barrett is like literally the same size as the car.
Yeah, like he can't fit in to like the driver's seat. He's too big for that. And then you have him and Red at the back. Like, I'm like, how are the wheels not dying on this car?
But that whole scene was really cool, right? Like Heidegger is like the, you know, kind of the evil villain with his, you know, evil laugh, and he's like, ah ha ha! And now finally here I can destroy them. And then the sound of the motorcycle that comes, because you know, you love when Cloud's on a motorcycle, and then my heart was just racing as this final scene ended. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, he looks so cool. He damn it, Cloud, why are you so cool? Like, his entrance was just amazing, and how he was just like not even an inch, like a millimeter close to ripping off Heidegger's face.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I was like, millimeters. That was super cool with the tire.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it. It was a really cool entrance, and it sucked that was the end of a chapter, because it felt like I really wanted to continue playthroughing, and I want to continue talking about it, but I think that's the end of the chapter.
It is, and it's a good segue. We'll digest what just happened, talk about it as we talk more on the next segment on AutoSave.
Not again! You can't stop me! For pigs! For
Tifa and Barrett too! I'm sorry, Cloud. Just tell me that I made a difference.
A moment of silence for Wedge here, as he just wanted to make a difference. I wanted to highlight this before the end of the show because it's kind of thrown a little under there that there's a random cutscene where the Whisper is basically just kill Wedge and blow him out the window. I can only assume that he was meant to die before.
So you think he's dead? You think he's dead?
Yeah, I think he's dead. He flew out the window.
The
specters are
flew
destiny.
out the window, but I guess he's a soldier. Yeah, I guess he bites the dust because we were making our way up to the roof to escape with Wedge, who was organizing with like HQ of Avalanche to get an escape for the crew. But then we saw how that those plans didn't go that way. And when I saw Wedge, I was like, okay, like this is cool. Like we didn't forget about Wedge. He's here. And maybe you do have a good point, because why else would the Spectres arrive to deal with Wedge when, you have Sephiroth in the building and you have Cloud and Barrett and they're like gonna meet? It's like, I feel like the Spectres should be more concerned, or the Whispers should be more concerned with that. But I guess maybe it is them tying up loose ends, because in the original, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge do die. And we thought that this was going another way, but it wasn't.
Let me break it down here of the confusingness in terms of so they killed Barrett, brought him back to life, but you're telling me that the Whispers weren't around to make sure that Wedge died before, and now they're trying to kill him now because he's not a part of the story because he was supposed to be dead. That's all that I'm confused about. It's like the Whispers show up in certain times, but now, Wedge somehow survived, so we got to kill him off right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. But
it doesn't. And maybe this is just trying to shock fans who've played the game. But in the end all, we just find out we're actually playing the same story with just a bunch of loops that were sent to throw us off the trail of the
maybe that's what
real story. Because now, there was no point of Wedge being alive up until this point. Then to lead everyone into thinking that he wouldn't die. But then he dies.
I know. My main concern is how convoluted it could get. And JRPGs sometimes fall into that issue. The prime example for me is Kingdom Hearts. The story, although it follows characters that you love, is so convoluted, and there's so many different layers. And I feel like this is where it's going, where the creators of Final Fantasy wanted to be able to tell the story in a more not structured way, but they wanted to go more in depth than they did in the original. And this is their way of telling that story that maybe explains more. But what I feel like might happen is that they're making it more convoluted and they're adding too many steps. And if there's time travel, if there's timelines and you're breaking through different timelines and these are different maybe multiverses or whatever, that maybe it gets a little bit too meta to a point where you just confuse fans, and it's like they're always searching for a deeper meaning, but the deeper meaning is still so convoluted that you end up kind of being lost. And that's my only fear moving forward.
Yeah, you're right on the money with that one, right? It's a real way to, because and this is the issue with doing a remake we talked about, right? Was there a need to do a remake other than the visuals and the graphics, right? That's why you do a remastered. If you wanted to up the visuals. But in terms of a remake and being so bold as Square says and say it's not the same story, it could make things very complicated if you now introduce all these alternate timelines, if you will, like an MCU of it, because then you're kind of ripping apart everything that was special about the original game.
At the same time too, I like where it's heading because I'm intrigued enough where it's like, this is different. So I feel good about it. So there's still that aspect to it. In terms of the theme of today and battle lines drawn with the big battle sequence, do you think these missions lived up to the hype? Because I certainly think so.
It really was like you were on your toes the whole time. I was at the edge of my seat the whole time because there's just one battle after the other. There's so much information in these two chapters that it just felt like the game was moving really quickly, but it didn't seem like I was overwhelmed with the information. It kept enough mystery where I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? But it didn't just tell me everything or not tell me enough. Like they did a really good job balancing these two chapters for all the content that was within these.
Now, despite all our talk of like convolutedness and whatnot, do you think we understand why that they're splitting these games into different parts? Because I do like the aspect of like getting to know these characters more. We've seen more of Tifa, more of Barrett, Marlene, Aerith. There's so many different layers to these characters now that I'm enjoying it. But I can only see, like, if this is one game, how many parts do they need to go through? And I'm sure we can talk about this on the final episode, but like how many parts do they have to go through in order for all this background to get done? Like we saw Rufus randomly, he showed up and they just throw him in, but obviously clearly we're probably going to see more of him. So it's just an interesting thing. Like, is this like a 7-8 part game? And if that's the case, you know, it's very huge in terms of like building it and how great it looks. It's going to take like GTA years to create all of this. It's going to be like George R.R. Martin writing the last 2 Game of Thrones books.
Yeah, we're going to be like, it's been 80 years and playing the last part of...
I like your old woman voice.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be playing the last part when we're like almost like on our deathbed. We'll be like, first I must finish part 22. Fantasy Remake. Yeah. It's so bad. I'm sorry.
Some notes before we go. You can pay Hart 10,000 gil to get Barrett's final weapon, the EKG cannon weapon. You can also get Cloud's final weapon on the way to Sephiroth. I think my voice cracked there. Sorry about that. I'm still going through puberty.
Cloud.
And actually, I found this out. If you replay the chapter, again, if you end up playing it again, you actually find Chadley the second time around, who basically gives you harder options for the battle simulator, but he also mentions how he's like a cyborg created by Hojo to serve him. Just a weird throw in there.
Wait, because, okay, the first time Chadley was there.
He was? I didn't see him in the first one.
So when you leave the simulation, you played the simulation, right? If you go back, did you go back to like play any of the other battles in the simulation?
Not the first time, no.
See,
so
I did.
Why I didn't see Chadley?
Maybe that's why you didn't see Chadley. So I did, and he's there. But I don't remember if he mentions. Yeah, I guess like he does mention, but it's Chadley, so I wasn't really paying attention that he was created for Hojo. But he does say like he has to be discreet. They should keep their conversation to like a minimal, so they don't arouse like a suspicion. So Chadley's there. He's just not memorable.
I mean, I like Chadley. I just hate his name. Is there anything else that we didn't cover or you want to mention before we go?
I was cheap, so I did not pay 10,000 gil. I'm going to have to play it again so I could get those... the final weapons, because also like I didn't get Tifa's final materia.
Okay.
No. I didn't get that at all. I was just like, because there was so much happening with the story, I was just like, let's keep going.
I mean, I always still try to get every chest. With Baron, I didn't buy it because they're expensive, but the other two you can find in chests. So I just
How much gil did you have when that option appeared?
Did I even have 10,000 gil? I don't even think I did. Maybe.
Oh, really?
I definitely did, because I barely bought anything in the game. Like the entire game, I barely bought anything other than like.
So you must have had more gil than 10,000. I had like almost 30,000 gil.
Oh wow! Okay.
And I still was like, no, this is too expensive.
You know what's funny is I only bought the things from the shops that were on sale. Every time where it said it's on sale, that's all I did. Maybe that's me and coming from my Portuguese family, but I was just like, oh, it's on sale. Perfect. My dad loves to buy everything on sale. So do I guess.
Same with my family. We are our parents. Wow.
Children.
We just discovered a little bit about ourselves through playing this game.
We did. All right, that's it for us. That was an action-packed episode, but we're not done. The finale is right around the corner. There is one chapter left, and you know that all hell is going to break loose.
Let's finish this.
But find out what happens next time on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.